Good morning, folks. Welcome to the classical tiebreak. I'll tell you in a second what this is about. Just putting up an announcement. Oh wow, Chess Dojo is automatically tweeting this stuff. I don't have to. Oh, that's so much easier. Wow. Good work. Oh, good work. Hey, Alf Books, how's it going? Okay, we've got Jesse's show this afternoon, the big game review show. Oh my god, I'm sore. Okay. Let's check it out. Here's our position. Oh yeah, sorry, before we get into our position, what's this about? So, in March, with our 48-hour anniversary stream, we ran our first ever full weekend Swiss classical tournament in a few sections. And in the top section, there was a log jam between Steve McCarrett, Alexa011, and Comrade Eyelash for the top. And the winner of that section is supposed to win a beautiful watch donated by Cartier Tonk. Now I always say it like Jesse. And they decided to play a three-way tiebreak. So that means each of them has to play the other two players. A three-player round robin looks like the pairings, which you can see below me here. 3 rounds, each player gets 1 white and 1 black, and plays 2 out of the 3 rounds. And at the end of that, ideally, one of them will have emerged as victor, or if not, they'll play some kind of an Armageddon in classical after that, with I think the one player getting 60 minutes and draw odds with black, and one player getting 90 minutes with white, and they have to win. Something like that. So this game here is a classical time control of 90 minutes plus 30 seconds, just like was played in our March weekend tournament. And there are a few moves into this match, so we'll just catch up quickly, and then you'll see it's classical chess. We'll have a lot of time to sit back, eat my breakfast, talk about the weather, or what my favorite color is, or whatever else comes up, all the random stuff, which I often sort of try to skip over to stick with the chess program. But today we've got time to just hang out, so that should be nice, especially since I'm in great need of taking it easy today. So we get this d6, e5. This is sort of the Jesse move order for getting into the Philidor defense. It allows this endgame variation, which Jesse loves, and White doesn't go for it. White just plays knight f3, and then Alexa can play knight bd7, and we've got absolutely standard old Philidor defense. Anybody know what happens if White plays knight g5 here? Let's just have a quick look and figure it out. Here, check, here, 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 here. Maybe we shouldn't put the pawn on b6, but we do have to, I mean, we do have to catch that knight somehow. Putting the pawn on b6 lets the knight trade for a third pawn, right? So then white will have a rook and 3 pawns against a bishop and knight. It's a lot of material. Yeah, what time zone are you in, Pikes? What works for you? That's the most common time for us to run our tournaments. This should be enough material for white to be playable for white, I would guess. So knight g5 may be possible or interesting here. Castles, castles, a4 to prevent black from expanding. Castles, bishop a2, because now if you play a random move, black may be ready to play here, here, here. Ah, see? A very good time. I mean, since we're super international, there's not, like, there's never going to be one time that works for everyone in the entire world, right? But we found 10 a.m. to be pretty reasonable for our tournaments. People in India stay up late to play them, adults at least. And kids and adults in Africa and Europe are able to play in the evening. For you, it'll already be the weekend, you know, Friday evening for you, basically. Oh, Kastanik, is that McCarrot in the chat here, checking out your competition? And so tomorrow at the same time, I believe the last game will be played with Alexa as white and McCarrot as black. And Kastanik 1 through 7 is Steve McCarrot on chess.com. So we'll be playing black tomorrow against Alexa in this tiebreaker. Okay, so bishop a2 to get out of knight takes e4. b6 to develop the bishop to b7 anyway. A very standard position, and you can see that Eyelash didn't need much time to get here yet, but Alexa had a good think on one move so far, which was this one. I wonder what else Alexa was thinking of here as like a major alternative. Good, Alf. Good. Good. Now it is like a tiring tournament, so you'll want to have some strength going into the Mega Rapid. But that doesn't matter what time of day we run the Mega Rapid. The Mega Rapid is always going to require some stamina from the participants. So whenever we run it, you have to make sure that you've eaten and slept well beforehand. You have to make sure that you've got some like easy snack nearby, etc. 5 p.m. will be fine for you, McCarrot. Yeah, that's right, Morphe. Unfortunate. He was as high as 2694 as far as I saw. That was rough. That was rough. Gosh, I hope it comes soon. I hope it comes soon. What a struggle. He tried again this morning, maybe, while I Was sleeping. He got to 2698 today. Oh my god. Ugh. Ugh. That's when he needs to find somebody rated like 2400 or 2420 or whatever it is, where you can get the minimum like 2 to 3 points, right? 2 days ago when I was watching, I thought he was at like 2694. Today, oh, you say as far as 2698 2 days ago. Okay. No. If you do it against somebody who's throwing the game, then it doesn't count. Then you can actually never make 2700. Your quest is ruined forever. Like, there are people who made their GM titles by, like, you know, buying a game, and those people will never be GMs ever. No matter how many GM norms they get in the future, they will always be losers. If you don't play that last game for your last norm for your GM title, in my eyes, you are never a GM for your entire life. Even if you later get to 2700, even if you make 50 norms. That's my take. Back when I was a professional player and talking with other professional players, it was a very well, they all disagreed with me, pretty much. Everybody thought I was too extreme. Well, this thing here, Y4D, this is just a 3-person affair. There's no way for you to join this one. But we will have more classical tournaments in the future. And if you do well in those, but not too well, and manage to tie for first, as opposed to taking sole first, then you could play in a tiebreaker of this sort. So yeah, this is from our weekend tournament a month ago. That this tiebreak has now been coordinated. And while we're speaking of classical, I need to set up registration for the May-June classical, right? It's time. The April classical is in round 4 right now, so I need to set up round 5. I mean, there's no round 5. I need to set up May, June. Without any pay to win. Which has new meaning now. All right. So yeah, so we're into round 4. Looks like we've got a couple people who've tried to join after round 4 started, when there are 0 rounds left to play, but they'll figure it out. They'll make it into the next one. So I'm just gonna make a new spreadsheet for Dojo May, June classical. Go over here. How do I... Yeah, Jesse's doing his analysis show today. People thought Some people thought it was fine to buy your norms. Other people thought it was fine to make like agreed upon like grandmaster draws if you only needed half a point. My take on prearranged draws is they're not allowed. If you think the book's not good, Alf books, I would just ditch it. I would recycle it so nobody else reads it. That's what I would do with bad books. Someone gifted us a book from some politician crook. You know, one of these beautiful propaganda pieces they publish in election years. And I was like, well, we don't want this piece of garbage. And then my partner was like, should we put it out on the street for someone else to read? And I thought, well, absolutely not. We don't want anyone reading this thing. No, you're not, Thornton. No, you're not. So black played b6, queen e2, queen c7, rook d1, and finally rook to b8. Black is thinking on every move now, quite a bit. White's quite a bit ahead on the time here. Exactly. I'm with Marion there. Right? So rook b8 is surprising. I thought that the black plan that I was familiar with in this position would be bishop b7, a6, and then b5. I feel like I've seen Chess Games and Jesse do that like a million times. Rook b8. What would be the point of playing rook b8? What's the advantage or idea? I mean, you're not going to play b5, ab5, cb5 as black because that weakens d5. It weakens the a file. Like, there's no scenario where black wants to play b5 here. So why rook b8? So why rook b8? You learn descriptive notation and nothing else in 40 pages. That is not a recommendation for that book. Okay, and Hokie says there's a beautiful new schedule button here. Dojo schedule for the week. If I click on it, it opens in a new tab. It doesn't close my video. That's nice. And there it is. It's got the schedule. I have so many books I want to read. That's part of it too, right? I've got stacks of books which I know are great, which I could read. So if I'm in a book and it's not worth it, then continuing to read it is basically like throwing out the good book that I'm never going to get to. So instead, throw out the bad book and get into something else. Oh, I'm very bad at that kind of stuff, Cartier. You have any suggestions on how to color it? Oh, I'm looking forward to that, Charlie. So, what does white want to do in this position? Any resemblance to any true senseis is just a coincidence. Contrasting colors, maybe, I don't know. That's not very many levels above me. Okay, D5, poking open a weak light square. Yeah, that seems nice for white. That seems nice for white. Ooh, and that's interesting. Bishop takes. If knight takes, then knight takes, bishop takes, knight here. And this knight on D7 finds a useful square to fight, right? So instead, white takes with the bishop. Now if black takes here, knight takes, black loses a tempo before then eventually trying to set up knight f6. The problem for white here is that this knight on f3 is going to be very badly placed now, as far as like trying to fight over this light square here, which is kind of the crux of what white is trying to do now, is weaken the opponent's light squares. So a typical maneuver is knight d2 to c4 to e3. It's a long way from that. We'll see. Oh wow, Morphe fan collecting a bunch of gold. Oh, but only a little bit was from the yes category. Okay. So that wasn't a big swing. The other day, everybody bet yes on Jesse, I think. It sounds like today they bet no. A6. Okay, worried about knight b5 winning the a-pawn. Right. My feeling is black should have just traded, even though it's going to lose a tempo. The knight comes here, you don't have to worry about that pawn. Queen retreats, and then next move, play knight f6. To me, that's like the most... That's the first impression move. Hey, Sabas. You've implemented a suggestion. All right, you're going to try a different time control next. Fair enough. Hey, David. 3-person tiebreak tournament. Each person plays 2 games against the other 2, or 1 game against each of the other 2. So this is like a post-tournament tiebreaker from the March weekend classical tournament that we had. The one-on-one redeemable lessons, Kostya kind of organizes them, and then he assigns like himself or Jesse or me to teach a private lesson to the student, and then the student and the teacher arrange the time together. So for example, I have one tomorrow. Kostya assigned me a lesson with JB for tomorrow. Yeah. I'm setting up the next tournament as we speak. The one for May, June. I'm in the process of setting it up. Wow, nice rules. I was able to copy the rules over from this month. That's nice. Yeah, Super Baguette. A6, isn't bishop c4 a candidate move? Absolutely. I think that's a very plausible move here. However, Baguette, knight c5 will cover this pawn, and it's probably a move black wants to play anyway. And then we could calculate b4 trying to win a pawn, but it's going to be very risky for white to weaken the c file like this. It's probably going to be okay for black. Like, for example, here, if you take the pawn on a6, the knight's hanging. And if you... And not only that, there's a threat of like b5 takes. Maybe knight b5 would be okay. Yeah. I don't know. It's possible, but I suspect that knight c5 is a good enough answer, because that's like the only direction this knight needs to go anyway. We could analyze it a bit. Oh, and Lane Haas saying maybe knight takes e4 in response, right? Would there be something to prepare for such a lesson? Depends on the teacher, Alf Books. Depends on the teacher. For my lesson tomorrow, it's with somebody who I already teach. So I already give lessons to JB. So I don't need her to do anything special for it, though I could have asked her to do some kind of homework for it. But yeah, for tomorrow, I can prepare without any input from her. When I do a lesson with somebody I haven't taught before, I usually ask them to fill out an onboarding questionnaire so I can find out what they are looking to learn, what their strengths and weaknesses are, what they're trying to get out of the lesson. So... in the yard, my dog is climbing on the neighbor and licking his face. So sweet. Yeah, so this tournament, David had one prize. So yeah, I mean, it's maybe largely prestige, but this tournament actually had one prize, which is a beautiful watch donated by Cartier Tank. So it's very rare in the dojo for there to be something at stake, so to speak, other than us just all having fun together. But there is a prize here. So that line that Lane Haas was suggesting would be like knight takes here, hitting this and setting up b5. So rook takes, b5, knight takes, pawn takes, bishop takes. Now a further tactic, maybe? Oh no, this fails. Look at this. Look at this failure. Boop, boop, boop. No time to take the rook. That's right, Super Baguette. Yeah, and it's the second time that Cartier's done that. Eyelash already has one from the February Mega Rapid. Wow, Morphe, you're very advanced to be doing that. To be doing that tactic exercise. So this bishop d7 doesn't work. So rook b5 doesn't work. So here black still needs to like get this pawn back. Can black play knight takes e4 to get it back? A simpler move does it. If queen takes, rook takes here. And if not queen takes, knight c3 next. So yeah, so good suggestion from Lane Haas on bishop c4, knight c5, b4 could be met with knight takes a4, and it's fully acceptable for black. Bishop g5. Queen c2 did not work. Oh, maybe it did, Wired. I didn't look that far. Just that I didn't look that far at it. And I found another simpler move that worked, but that's a cool idea. That's a very cool idea. Boom, boom, hello. I think that's going to work, but maybe I'm just not looking another move ahead properly. But yeah, hard to imagine the rooks getting out of a diagonal double attack like that, right? Whew. Nice. So that works for black as well. Very, very fancy. So white just played bishop g5. Here, when the opponent's bishop is here, you can often trade off your bad dark squared bishop, or even win the opponent's dark squared bishop with this tactic, right? Love that tactic. But in this position, white takes with the knight hitting the queen, and black ends up losing everything. So, there's no knight takes d5 here. It looks like white will trade the dark squared bishop for a knight to work on this light square control, but white's still going to need this knight to get into the game. That's even more of a priority, I think, than this dark square bishop trade. So I think black's going to be fine so far. But how does black improve their position? Maybe bishop to b7 is correct. Developing. Black wants to put a rook on the c file for counterplay. The other thing you can like calculate is b5 and see like does it or doesn't it work. It looks like black doesn't cover b5 enough, but if you calculate b5, it's still like a useful reference point for whatever else needs to come in the position, so it's good to do that. How many patterns do I know? I don't know, Cartier. The sort of like basic patterns, at least, you know, like 3,000 or so, I would imagine. Of like little like basic patterns. It's a ton. It's a lot of patterns. And then I know like already like, you know, more complicated patterns or mixings of two patterns and bigger chunks basically of like this thing followed by that thing or that thing followed by this thing. It's like huge amounts. Like most of what I see in 1 second. And then after that, you know, I can work through some more stuff, but oh yeah, David Menchik, this drill is for, you know, 0 to 1200 for sure, and then maybe up to 1400, 1500, depending on the player's tactical abilities. But it's really not for you. You, David, should do the exercise that we did together on, was it Monday that I did a little training for myself? That's a good exercise for you, David. And that's like the fourth, an exercise that corresponds to the fourth video in my tactics series on chess.com. Baguette confirms it was Monday. That would be one for you. be very fruitful at the level you're at, David, and forever from here on out. Like I'm still doing it now at 2400, and Shanky, who's at 2700, still does stuff like that. So. I don't feel great today, folks, but I'm not complaining. A lot of people apparently felt really, really bad. Bishop b7 was played as guest. A lot of people feel really bad when they get the second shot, I've heard. And this is not that bad. This is definitely not complain-worthy so far. So, I'm not complaining, but if I seem a little bit out of it today, I am a little bit out of it. Yeah, I got the second Moderna yesterday. And maybe I shouldn't have streamed quite as late last night. But so trade, knight d5. Oh man. So this knight's taking forever to get there, but white's traded off the last black piece that matters and left them with this trash. And what does black have to show for it? Not a ton. Not a ton. Ugh. Knight takes d5, even helping the white rooks get going. If black played b5 here, white can take. You can't take with the queen because the queen's covering the bishop. Pawn takes, check here, and you drop a pawn. So that's probably what Alexa wasn't down with here. So it gets traded right there. But yeah, I guess basically it's like the threat of taking and taking this. Oh, man. This looks like it's going to be a long game for Alexa, and I don't mean because it's classical. I do not mean because it's classical. Oh. Oh. I brought 2 cups of water to this broadcast, Thierry, and they're already both almost gone. Is f5 a requisite? No, not a requisite. It's a plan that's used, Baguette, but often when there are a few more pieces on the board than here. Here I would think the move f5 just opens up more weak light squares for black and weakens their king a little bit. I wouldn't go for it. I don't think. Oh, man. But okay, we've got a lot of time to think how we could defend for black. Let's make a list of like the options, right? One plan for black is to try and put counter pressure on the c file. One plan is to play for f5. One plan is to play b5. Another plan is to try and get this bishop outside the pawn chain, which may look like a dream here, but we have to, you know, this sort of Sveshnikov/Najdorf pawn structure, we just have to be complete about what the options are. That's another big option, is trying to get outside somehow. Tough here because this pawn's under some pressure already. But we list our options and then we try and figure out if any of them are feasible. There's no way to get rid of the bad bishop, right? Because, I mean, the white knight, it's on a light square, and anytime it's on a dark square, like if white plays knight d2 and you're like, ooh, I'll go trade it with bishop g5, the knight's just going to move. So, yes, if for some reason white allows you to trade the knight with your bishop, do it. But it's not like a plan for black because there's no way that you can go try to make it happen. Rook f8, fc8 to c5, with the idea of maybe playing b5, maybe trading off some more rooks, maybe putting pressure on the c file. That move seems to hit a lot of the different things black might like to do in this position. What would I play in response to f5 as white here? Probably a move that defends my rook. Probably rook a to d1. Yeah. Is Sophie streaming her game live, Seth? It's x3, I think. Let's see if that's right. All right, so if anyone wants to see the thoughts of the person actually playing right now, Comrade Eyelash Sophie is streaming live as she plays. And making people repeatedly say Sophie is so good. I've seen that comment already today. Menchik says one option is we just sit here and suffer. Yeah, I guess so. In the lowest level of hell. Yeah, there's a lot of guys who want lessons from the dojo. And we're on every day. Sav, whoever they are welcome to come watch the stream any day. Yeah, Sophie is a national master. U.S. Chess Federation, 2200 plus. You doubted wrong that time, Lane Haas. The whole of life is suffering. Your chess positions are suffering. Your diseases are suffering. Getting old is suffering. You mostly draw, huh, Gorkum? Yeah, well, you should be able to put a lot of pressure on black in these positions. I would already be like counting up my win here as white. No, I mean, I don't do that. You don't want to count it before it's hatched, but I would definitely expect myself to win like 100% from this position. Any result other than a win, I would be angry. Reasonably angry, but angry. Well, Kastanik she is. She's a national master in the U.S. Chess Federation. She didn't bother to put it on. Yeah, missing out on free premium. That sounds familiar, Morphe fan. But I cannot name the movie. All right, I'm just checking over the rules because I want to post this tournament. Okay, week 1 is May. What day will Monday be? May 3rd? Round 2 will be May 10 through 16. Week 3 will be May 17 through 23. Round 5 is June 1 through 7. Round 6 is June 14. Whoops. June 8 through 14. Week 7 is June 15 through 21. Week 8 is June 22 through 28. All right. Here we go. Registration is now open for the May-June tournament. Playing Title Tuesday could be a perk for somebody who enjoys that. Yeah. Could be. Let me go to MooBot, change the classical command. All info here. Registration now open for May, June. Link. Save. All right. There it is. Changed the MooBot. Oh, and I have to change the sharing settings for the whole thing. Okay, let me just fix that real quick. Let's see if that works now. I've played TT a couple times, and yeah, you know, Blitz is not like my favorite thing. I've probably played it 2 or 3 times, so I'm not like against playing it or anything. Okay, yeah, that link's working. All right. Oh, God. All right, what's happening in the game? Any moves from Alexa or just suffering? Just staring at the position and suffering, huh? Ouch. It's an 8-rounder, but as many of you should know, you don't need to play all 8 rounds. You can play 3 rounds, you can play 6 rounds, whatever you want. You just mark which rounds you want to buy in column E, and then we won't pair you that round. Thanks, David. We do want some opponents in the tournament, so. April, we had so many players. So many players. We'll definitely have as many in May, June, I would guess, and so we'll definitely have similar sections, right? Like, we had 5 sections in this April tournament just now. I'm guessing that in May, June, we will also have at least 5 sections. Oh yeah, we have to keep. Yeah, we can't expand the number of sections because with 8 rounds, you need more people to play in your section. So actually, even if we get like a higher turnout, we're gonna stick with 5 sections. I think. Yeah, we'll probably stick with 5. I think that's a likely prediction of 5 sections. That would be really nice for me, Thierry, if there were like a place where you could play some games against titled players that weren't Blitz. Yeah. Yeah, 8 rounds is no sprint. 8 rounds is enough time to like lose a game and then win some games and catch back up and have somebody who's not in the lead beat somebody who is in the lead and change the lead and all that kind of exciting tournament stuff. Yeah, you're definitely welcome to take some half points. No problem there. There's like a 3-hour break between rounds, technically, right, Cartier? Sunday night between 9 p.m. and midnight Pacific when we redo pairings for the next round. It's technically a tiny little break. So for any round that you want to buy, you just have to request it before we do pairings. That's the rule. So there's no need when you register for the tournament to predict whether or not you need round 6 off. But you just need to let the tournament directors know before round 6 gets paired. Once a round is paired, we expect you to play your opponent that week and not leave them, out to dry. So the deadline for buy requests is 9 p.m. on Sunday before whatever the next round is. Hopefully that makes sense. Often I explain these things and it doesn't quite make sense. The Mega Rapid, yeah, that's no break at all. Cartier's right. Mega Rapid is intense levels of stamina needed. And one day when you guys all have enough stamina for the Mega Rapid, I'll increase it to 9 rounds or 10 rounds. Just force you to keep growing. And then new people will be like, what on earth is this torture? What is this like dojo of just sadists and masochists? How am I supposed to play chess nonstop, new game every half hour for 6 hours? I'm exhausted. My eyes are blurry from staring at my screen. Oh yeah, we weren't talking about anything, Amanda. Don't worry. Nothing going on here. Okay, so F5 was played. And Eyelash, within 2 minutes, played the move that I told somebody I would play a long time ago when they asked what would I play in response to F5. I said, I don't know, maybe Rook D1 defending the Rook. Yeah, that's why it's the Mega Rapid, David. We run 4-round tournaments all the time, right? But there are people who seek, extreme experiences. And for them, we do the Mega Rapid. For the thrill seekers. You'll have work, but you'll be watching. If you're just watching, you're not working anyway, so you might as well play, right? Registration will open Friday morning at 9 a.m. for the Mega Rapid that's at 10 a.m. There's no way to pre-register for the chess.com live chess tournaments. You just have to show up Friday morning and do it. If you got fired, you could spend more time writing music. I have also approval from Hoki's wife to get him fired. We have, so to speak, pre-approval from that household. Sorry, MD. That's rough. That was not my intention for you. Seth's been mostly preparing excuses instead of openings lately. All right. Well, stick with your job then, Amanda. Stick with your job. All right. A rook comes to the C file. Might as well. It's better than the B file. I know every day Amanda was going to work and wondering, like, is David going to let me keep going to work or not? Is he really okay with this? And finally, you can breathe easily. Just go to work while in a completely peaceful Zen state. I have no idea what's up with partner approval, Charlie, but we're definitely not going to get it. Hoki and Kosti and Jesse all think we're going to get it this time. I didn't have the heart. I know Hoki's listening now. I didn't have the heart to tell them in our little like group Discord chat that we're not going to get it. But they're like, this time we're definitely going to get it. I was like, not going to say it. Don't want to discourage their poor little hearts. Yeah, there are people with like a third as many followers as us who have partner status. So who knows? You like this shirt, Pikes? I don't know if they still exist. This was like Endgame Clothing is the company. They made some cool chest shirts. And I think Sam Shankland and I were both IMs at the time. And so they like gave us shirts to like wear at chess tournaments so that people would find out about their clothing company. I don't even know why we would want partner status on Twitch either. Whatever. Doesn't matter to me. I'm not like sore or bitter about it because I, again, literally don't care. Shanklin was probably like 18 when he got IM. 17, 18. Something like that. And now Amanda reveals that you're better off having a cat at home than a human if you want peaceful bliss. If you want domestic bliss. The cat will just be like, whatever, do what you want. See if I care. Well, that's good to know, Rangao. 60-day VOD storage instead of 14 is the big perk we're gunning for. Until you can automate that second YouTube channel into like an automatic VOD dump, then we won't need that either. Okay, rook b8. 15% would be kind of noticeable linear. I don't know what percent we get right now, only that it's less than 50%. It's probably like over 40%. Oh, nice. You've traveled for tournaments. That's fun. All right. Eyelash thinking here about this Poziciatsk. Logically, you would normally want a pawn on c3 just to make this less annoying. But also, now that this rook's defended, she can start thinking about opening up these squares. So that's possible as well to just take. But for the moment, takes, queen e4, rook f4, and the queen has to back up. She doesn't have a way to get into e6 or anywhere super juicy yet. Nor does the knight. Knight d2 to go to e4 or c4. There's currently rook takes c2. So the simplest move from white here would be c3. We also have to think how we're going to keep this a pawn defended, right? Because black has queen c6 to attack it, and black has fe, queen e4, rook f4 to attack it. So there's some work to do here for white. They've agreed to it, Smurberg, but it's for May 31st. It's a pretty aggressive goal, I would say. I estimate our chances of making it at about 15 to 20%, and Chloe said, perfect. I didn't want I didn't want to do it. I was trying, you know, I think she helped me pick it. She's like, I wanted it to be something that wasn't really going to happen. But look, you can see we hit 12,000. That's something. No, we don't buy titles and we don't buy followers. If you've got a friend who likes chess, you can tell them about our channel and get us one more follower. That's good enough. You're just going to walk up and down the street telling people. You know what I just found out yesterday, Smurberg? Or actually the day before yesterday? My neighbor, who knows that I'm a professional chess player and a Twitch streamer, my neighbor has started watching Nakamura on Twitch all night long and doesn't watch our channel. What? That's just brutal. That's just brutal. How am I supposed to buy a follow, huh? Yeah, we are 10 Hikaru raids away from making it. We got just about 300 followers from our one Hikaru raid. So 10 Hikaru raids away from Hand and Brain with Chloe. Did I beat my neighbor up? No, Spurberg. My neighbor and I both have hemophilia, so I didn't start a fight with them. David's got a good point. I talk loudly enough. Chloe's always complaining that throughout the house you can hear my stream. Maybe the neighbor's like, I already hear David out the window. So, do I step on their plants? No, I'm not nasty like that either. I did nothing. I just let Chloe tell them, you know, David's stream is really good. And I was like, I just kind of like nodded behind her like, yeah, it's pretty good. Yeah, of course, Lena, you're welcome to, like, you know, advertise us to people if you like. That's perfectly fine with us. I mean, word of mouth, I think, is one of the main ways of increasing one's business. Do I let my dog pee in their yard? Yes. But they don't mind at all. I mean, my neighbor's cuddling my dog right now. How many emails do I get a day? A bunch. Do I answer them all? No. It's just not quite possible. Yes, Polly, it is 10:47 a.m. Pacific time. So like on Friday, 2 days from now, the Mega Rapid will start 47 minutes earlier than right now. And some of you may be used to like our 10 a.m. tournament starting at like 10:05. or 10:03 or 10:06 or something like that. The Mega Rapid starts at 10. Like, you need to have joined it by 9:59. It's a long tournament, and I wanted to get through commenting the whole thing before I have to go pick up my kids and possibly have time to sing a rap song at the end. So it starts at 10:00. Gotta be ready. Yeah, you can plug us to anyone you think would like the channel. That's totally fine and cool. Did I hear Dubov's comment? No, I did not. Yes, we got the raid, folks. We got the raid. Pleefers, thank you. And welcome. Good to see you, friend. Have you just been streaming, Pleef? Yes, I saw your response, Charlie. I can't say anything more about it on stream because I want it to all be like an exciting surprise and all that. But yeah, I got your email. I read it. We're on board. We're going to get it. We're going to get it going. Power walk. I get it. And your all-time high of 742. Excellent. Excellent work. Excellent. 200 males. Yeah, sometimes it makes one cry, David, to not be able to handle one's stuff. Wow, Smurberg wants that 15K. And then at some point we just got to say, like, it's enough, you know. Liam Nakamura. Okay, thanks, Dor. Whew, Eyelash really in the tank. So should we try out some moves, folk, and see what's happening here? Like, if Eyelash plays C3, what might happen next? Takes, rook here, hitting the queen, pawns over there, she retreats, this comes out, this thing's under attack, and what is she to do? That's a little bit awkward, right? I mean, from the perspective of somebody with a dominating position, this would count as awkward, I think. Yeah, Pleefers, your TDs are here. And Pleefers, we just opened registration for the May-June tournament. All right, so Cartier is confirming that's awkward. So Eyelash needs like a really good move. Okay, here's an intense idea. Knight d2. Trying to get the knight into business. Sacking this. Queen here hitting the rook. Rook here, and now grab this pawn. So I went down a pawn. That feels insane and risky. I've got knight e4 or knight c4 coming next. I'm getting the knight in the game finally. This knight has been a real stinker. Right, Charlie? Hasn't this knight been a stinker all game? Just like sitting here looking at the e5 pawn, unable to move, attacking zero things all game. All right, good luck in your Blitz tournament, David. And also just have fun. This is plausible. When the knight joins the game, the black pieces are now kind of scattered in the quest to go take the pawn. Black's pieces become fairly scattered and random. I mean, this rook could even get in trouble of getting trapped. Actually, hang on. Instead of taking this pawn, what about this move? Isn't the rook done? Isn't the rook done? Oh, there's this move counterattacking white's rook. And then knight takes queen here. Oh, what a save. The, the randomly strewn pieces. They come together and save each other. Oh, this is a back rank tactic for anyone who's like, what is going on? Okay, no queen c3. No trap in the rook. It was a goner, right? You guys can see the rook had nowhere to go. Okay, but I'm going to say white has to take here now. Falk, this was a Philidor defense. A Philidor defense that sort of transferred into the, whatchamacallit, sort of like, you know, Najdorf Sicilian kind of pawn structure. Yeah. All right, I'm going to take a quick break and go empty and refill my waters. Be right back. I knew I was going to need a lot today, Smurberg. Normally I only have one. All right. Has she moved? No, I think she's in her deep think. And you'll see that as players get better and better, this is not universal, but a lot of them spend more time on like a couple moves and play like other moves pretty quickly. So they like stop more often at more critical moments and think deeper about them, successfully predict what the next few moves will be and play the next few moves faster. So yeah, so this is Sophie's first really deep think about the game. So far everything was pretty like straightforward moves for her. I'm not feeling great, Falk, but I'm not feeling terrible. Hosebud likes white plus 0.4. Fair enough. We just need a good move for white. Everything looks nice for white, but white needs a good move. Is it normal to drink from the tap? Yeah. I looked at knight d2, rook takes c2 here, Rengao. And on knight d2, fe would obviously be like terrible for black, shall we say. White just gets the knight here freely. Nothing's hanging. This is under pressure. Every white piece is good. This is like lost pretty much. Hoseput says knight e5 almost works. Let's have a look. This is good for just sort of getting your bearings on a position. Was the idea like queen c4 here, Hoseput, with like the cross pin? Yeah. It's a beautiful idea. Takes. And it doesn't work. Black has time to save the bishop. Yeah, so the knight can't do anything yet. Yeah, Dor, Hoseput meant it almost works, like there's almost like the tricks to make it work, not like that position is almost okay, right? That position is completely lost, but it's there's an interesting little tactical theme hiding behind there. Yeah, Eyelash is quite tactical. Should have looked at that. Okay, here's another candidate move for white, g3 to prevent rook f4. Now, you'll have to follow up probably with king g2 to support the knight better. And there could be some worries about the light squares. But it's a possible option. Well, I mean, let's evaluate this position here that we mentioned before. Like, is this good or bad for white? Black has to worry about this rook, actually, because it is pretty close to trapped. I guess on queen c3, there's queen d5, and on knight c4, there's rook b4, queen c3, rook a4, queen b3, b5. Knight d6 or something. Maybe just king h8 is best here, just getting out of some bad tactics. What if rook takes f5? Whoa. Rook takes f5. Wow, Dor. I didn't think of that. That's a nice move. Because then on knight c4, your rooks hook up over here, right? Dang. White can get this ideal knight outpost here, but now white's down 2 pawns for this. That's a lot. White's gonna need something really good here. Is queen c3 a threat here? Rook e2, and it looks like it probably doesn't really do much. Is knight takes d6 hitting the queen? Bishop takes queen f5 a threat? Maybe. It depends on knight d6, rook f2, knight b7, rook g2 check, king here. Yeah, white can cover the king. Okay. So knight takes d6 is a threat from white right here. Logically, I would want to move the rook off of this square at this point. Or play g6, but I'm more inclined to retreat the rook. Savus Crawfish. Because of this move. It's very, very strong for black, this queen coming here. And white can't like use their pieces anymore. Perfect, Alf. Perfect. Yeah, when I played Sophie, Comrade Eyelash, for those of you. When I played Sophie, she definitely played a move, a tactical move that I hadn't seen coming. Like a, somebody looked at every single candidate move they had kind of move to find it. Okay, so let's play knight e4. I'm going to save this rook door. Obviously, we can find improvements, but I'm going to save the rook first. And I'm going to try and make something out of this rook. And when it comes here, I'm going to win like this. Comes here, I'll win like that. I'm going to go back here and play rook f7 instead of rook f8. Do this anyway. Thud right here. Black needs an amazing move here. My idea, folks, and the reason I tried to find an amazing move for black is my idea was if the queen stays on the rook, or maybe queen c7 is a simpler, less amazing move that does the trick, but the idea is that white's threatening to win, like this. So that was the idea with this whole getting the queen to c4 and then playing rook d6. But now I see that there's even like a simple move. Even if b5 didn't work, this move's very, very simple. Oh, Sophie has played c4. Ah, so she's going to keep this rook from threatening her a pawn like that. She's going to follow with b3 as well. She's going to clamp this pawn here and not let it go. She had to calculate this pretty hard, because if queen takes, rook f4, and she loses. Right? So, hey Arturus, thanks for the raid. If anybody here doesn't know Grandmaster Arturus Naxons, he's got a fantastic channel over there. There's the link. Twitch.tv, GM Naxons. Great teacher. Nice person. Official friend of the dojo. Okay, so the idea here, I think, is not to take back with the queen because of rook f4 and dropping this pawn. I think Sophie's plan is to play knight d2 if black takes. This pawn's covered and the knight tries to get here. Black's got one move to like mess something up, and then she's got control over her position again. So here, black could play queen c6, rook f4, e3. There's like, a few different things one could do here. Queen c6, white's plan is going to have to be to throw in the move b3. You want to play knight e1 to mate black. That sounds like a chess joke. I want to retreat my really short range piece all the way to the back rank in order to checkmate you. Yeah, I mean, knight d2 has potential for white to eventually attack the king, but certainly a long way off. The next move wouldn't be queen h5. And I think he wanted to play knight e1. I'm not sure why he won, but I guess knight c2 to e3 and similar stuff. Anyway, here we're going to try and put this knight here. That's an ideal square for the knight right now. It's not an ideal square, it's the ideal square. So does black have anything to do before white sets up what they want here, right? Like b5, somebody said, takes. What does black get out of this? Queen's attacked, she's got to move. She could try and stay on this. Queen c6. Now if you take with the queen, trade queens and win this pawn. So white has to play b3. But I don't really see how b5 helped black here compared to just playing queen c6. This pawn's in grave danger. Rook f4. Now I'll play my g3 move again. Oh, Hosepud's got an idea. d5. Yeah. But as Hosepud already said, knight e4 covers it. Dang. That is very funny, Renga. And that sort of thing has been done. I mean, I learned a maneuver in the Benoni where you move, where there's like a really, really good knight to h8 move. And I was thrilled. And I think I finally got to play it in one of my games. And that was like a very, very happy moment. Don't see it. Anyway. Whoops, sorry. That's a mouse slip. Rook f4, g3 also seems to allow white to, you know, get this in. It's a great position for white. Okay. Well, this is a great move from Eyelash. That was 25 minutes invested. But it sure requires something great from black. There's a... All right, yeah, Charlie's learned when to use or not use those threats on h7. Rook f6 to bring the second rook over to this file here. Then we'll get trades. Here, knight here, here, here. And I would say absolute domination for white. Queen c6, b3. Pawn takes, knight there, e3. Okay, I'm going to search for a move for black here for a second, folks. Not really in good shape today, but we're going to try and find one move anyway. Then we can always get back to just chatting. So one move for black is rook c5 here. And another idea for black, which is a little bit intense, is to play f4 and then rush the g-pawn. Yeah, I think this is the best move. Because if white goes knight d2, black can trade, and white has to fill that weakness, and then white can't target d6. This position is still good for white, probably after taking back with either pawn, probably still a bit good for white, but not as good for sure. And if white takes here, then black can take this way, with this move here seemingly stopping knight d2 for the moment. And there's pressure on this pawn at the same point. And there's even like a move like rook b8 at some point. So this is a good move. Doesn't let white just do what they want. I'm kind of expecting maybe pawn takes f5 as the response. That's where I was sort of thinking about. Exactly, Hosepud. Yeah. If white plays knight d2 and black gets a structure of this type here, they can now play for b5 and maneuvering the bishop here because white's not directly attacking the d6 pawn anymore. So this bishop can finally come out. Slowly try to come out. Well, it's not like guarantee anything, but yeah. So I might expect this move from white. That's a nice plan, Super Baguette. We can check that and see if white has time to do it. But let's try this. Imagine black sort of just has to take it. I think here trading on d5 and white recapturing doesn't help black. So let's go like this for black now. Queen e4, there's still rook f4. Still rook f4. b3, just defending the pawns. Yeah, I guess one thing white could do is just not do much. Even without e takes f5, white could just play like b3. Just defend everything for the moment. Okay, let's have a look at Baguette's idea of playing h3 here. Pawn takes e4. This might be black's idea, Baguette. So we'll see if white can handle this or not here. Point one is on queen here to play rook f4. And when the queen moves to take this pawn. Point two would be when the knight comes to d2, which was white's previous plan when playing c4, is that now you can trade here with this idea. Now, there is even this move here for white. Kind of shocking, but I guess black can do this, this, and this, and have more than enough pieces. So h3, fe4. What would you do there, Super Baguette? Do you have a plan to it? Hey, came to watch. How's it going? Yeah, rook c5 did get played. Yeah, what do we want to do as white against this move? But if you take on e4, you don't have time for b3, right? And rook f4, queen back to e2. Okay, yeah. So this happens, and unfortunately the knight on f3 is not yet ready to make any of this work out, right? And this is hanging here. So on fe4, b3 is not possible. The knight's attacked here. Rook f4, too late. Yeah. Okay. Well, h3 is not strictly a waste of tempo. Baguette has a plan of what Baguette wants to do with this knight, which is the thing that I've been asking for a long time, is how this knight's going to get to a good square. But it looks like f takes e4 is sort of like a threat from black, so white has to play a move to deal with it. The b3 move you suggest may be one move that deals with it. b4 is another one. So something like this would be fine for white. So if white wants to just sit on this position, I had also mentioned b3 earlier. White could just play b3, or white could play pawn takes, rook takes, and then b3. It's totally possible. Yeah, fe4 looks like a mild threat after rook c5. Because our plan was to play knight d2. And then the rook will be able to take here. Is knight d2 right now an option? Rook takes rook is black's plan. Cookie. And I would think white still has an edge here, but it's much more, well, we could say more complicated, more of a two-way street, less of an advantage for white, we could also say. Because if we go this way, then we don't have the threat on d6. Black can play b5 and look to get this bishop into the game finally. Or maybe even first they want to try and fight for the c5. I don't know. There's a lot going on, but there's definitely options for black here. And if we take the other way, then the bishop can get out like this. Right? At least it's in the game. I mean, I think these positions still favor white. But I don't know by how much. Right? I mean, black has a healthy pawn duo and can play e4 pretty much at will for this bishop. So it's basically just a game to me. And therefore, as white, I consider b3, I consider b4, I consider just trading here. I suppose g3 is again a move for white as well, stopping rook f4 and being able to put the king on g2. But g3, I guess you always have to think about f4, and do you really like that? Honestly, like black and white should both be considering this f4 move throughout the game, because in my opinion, it doesn't really help black to trade these pawns. It creates more light squares the white's queen and knight can like work with. So it's almost like you want to play f4 for black, but black's still trying to use the rook on this file, so using that as a second idea, as well as f4 and g5 and a pawn storm. So yeah, g3 leaves the knight loose. We're going to have to take care of that knight or remaneuver it to e4. Yeah, f4 with the plan of queen c8. That's something I was strongly considering for black. Right here, I considered two ideas for black. Rook c8 and f4 were basically the two moves I was looking at this point already. So I think f4 is still going to be an option throughout. Why doesn't white trade rooks themselves here? Are you wondering that, Super Baguette, on c5? If we trade on c5, then we have to deal with this and with this. So it forces some decisive action out of us. We can't play knight d2 to e4 because of queen b2, I think. So that's kind of like the annoying detail here. So we could trade and keep maneuvering this position here as white. No reason not to trade on f5. I think that's one of white's two main candidate moves here, basically. I think b3 and e takes f5 are the most likely moves for white right here. I would probably just play e takes f5, rook takes f5, b3. Preparing, to play knight d2 to e4 as white, right? That's the point of doing this, is I'm hoping to, play like queen d3 maybe, and like knight d2 to e4 at some point. But you'll see, without the second anchor on this rook, it's hard to maneuver knight through d2. Maybe we'll have to do this knight e1, c2, e3 maneuver after all that we laughed about a little bit earlier. But yeah, I think ef5, rook f5, b3 is pretty reasonable for white here. Hey Vertwitch, hey Counter Sparks. Let me grab this link and put it on Twitter too. Hey, I'm Siraj. There is not a tactic with knight e5, Bob Dole, because the rook can come back to c7 and defend the bishop. This has been the result of this so far. Salient angle of resistance and supporting parallel. Nope. Don't know what those are, Vertwitch. All of that is outside my vocabulary. Okay, white to play here, still in deep thought. And notice that white spent 25 minutes on c4, black played rook c5, and white spending another, 15, 20 minutes on this one. I don't like to string together back-to-back long thinks. In general, if I'm going to think for 20 minutes on a move, I like to know my next move. But also it's true that this is like the very critical part of the game. And white played a lot of other moves very quickly. And so she has the resources to put however much time she wants into pretty much into these 2 or 3 moves here. Okay, ef5 as expected. And then I think rook f5, b3. Yeah, usually stringing together long thinks is a sign that you haven't accurately assessed what your opponent's going to do, or that there's some like major decision that you just can't make, right? And so you play the first move down the path, but you still haven't decided which way you want to play it afterwards, right? Like maybe white hasn't decided if they want to play b3 or b4. And they're like, oh, should I play b3 or b4? Should I trade first and then do I play b3 or b4? It can really be a drag to make like a huge decision that you think is going to be committal for the whole game, and you can't like figure it out. So you sort of like kick it down the road one move, but still have to figure it. The Minor Tactics of Chess by Franklin Knowles. Interesting. And is that Franklin Knowles Young's vocabulary? this weird salient and angle of resistance. Supporting parallel and angle of resistance. Wow. Has anyone else ever used those terms, or are they just Franklin Knowles Young's own terms? And I don't mean that in a bad way. I mean, my term of tactical elements, I don't know if I've ever seen someone else speak about it that way. 1894. HP Bob Dole, it's because black would have taken the white knight. So the first time this came up, was like, as soon as the rook's double, right, it becomes a possibility, knight e5. The thing is, black takes your knight, then defends this, right? And white's down a piece. Okay, Alexa's just recaptured on f5. I would expect at some point Eyelash to sort of have some plan of what she's doing here and just play like b3 or something next. Kugel Moogle. Chess is a vile product of patriarchy. All of us here pretty much like chess, so maybe you want to explain to us what's vile about it. I don't rule chess, Socratic. The Grand Tactics of Chess Part 2. Oh, man. I mean, I think I have an idea of what patriarchy is. I'm just curious what makes chess vile. Have I thought about going out to mine coal? Not in, I mean, I've thought about what it might be like to mine coal, but I've never thought about it in the sense that I wanted to go do it, Kugel Moogle. I have no personal interest in coal. And what do you presume to know about my gender, Kugel? I don't think you're a friend of mine. I don't remember talking to you before. As a sub 400 player, what level bot should I play against to improve? It's making you too reckless. I mean, share W mono. In general, you're going to be better off playing against human opponents who are sub 400 than bots who are sub 400 if you want good practice, right? I have yet to see, and maybe it exists and I just haven't seen it or found it yet, but I've yet to see a bot of 400 or 600 or 800 or 1200 or any level that provides like really good like human-like training. So I would advise you to just play with people and not play with bots. I don't know of any bot, honestly, that's particularly worth playing for someone at your level. Doesn't really make sense to me. If you play with other people, you can also talk to them about the game afterwards, which is like my favorite part almost of playing a chess game. So that's my recommendation there. Oh yeah? Why must I? Is that right? Okay, I've never tried it. I recommend playing people within about a 200 rating band of yourself. Ideally. You want to get feedback from your games, so you want to like win more often when you play more good moves and lose more often when you play more bad moves. So if you play somebody who's too much better than you or too much worse than you, you'll start to lose out on that feedback because you'll basically always win or always lose. If that makes sense, Rangao, like if somebody is like 1,000 and keeps playing against someone rated 1,800, you'll have better or worse games, or the 1,000 will have better and worse games, but lose them all anyway, and not get like the simplest form of like feedback on their chess ideas from winning or losing. And same with if that like 1,000 is playing against people rated 400, the 1,000 could do almost anything and end up winning the game and not really learn much from it. It can be cool to like now and then play with people who are better than you and have them like talk to you about the game afterwards, and you can learn something from them that way. But I would say for the bulk of your practice, you want to play somebody who you score between 25 and 75% against. Uh-oh. Okay, hang on, folks. I gotta do something real quick. There's a little computer problem here. Exactly, meme. It's set up to kind of be that way. And that's why I said plus or minus 200 points. And I also said 25 to 75% score, right? The two indicators I gave line up with each other. Okay, B4 was the choice. There we are. Will these files finish copying before my computer runs out of space? We're in a race. We're in a green bar, red bar race here. I think the green bar is going to make it, actually. I think the green bar will make it. Whew. All right. Whew. Made a little space. All right, I'm back. I'm back to look at the position. All right, so what's going on here? You guys are wondering about e5. You're wondering about knight to d4 here. Knight d4, if pawn takes d4, rook f5, yeah. But it's black's move. Oh, that's why a5, knight d4. Okay, interesting. Seth, I 100% agree. You have to handicap yourself and then play as good moves as you can. You never want to show people bad moves as like normal practice. How often do we have classical tournaments? It depends, Emsiraj. Right now we've got one running all the time, right? We have an April one that's finishing this week, and we've got the May one starting next week. So... Okay, so what does black want to do here? Somebody's looking at a5. I'm not impressed with a5 for black here. I mean, in general, it's even just losing a pawn. Well, you could take, and throw in rook b5 to not let the queen down. I don't think that helps black at all to play a5. Plus, there's that knight d4 idea. So for black, what does black want to do here? Probably retreat this rook because it's just a tactical liability here. Then white's going to want to play knight d2 to e4. Does black have a way? Well, I guess we could think, does black have a way to forestall this maneuver? That might be a good way to think about this position from black. Yeah, you can try and join it, M. Siraj. The entry is open now. I just posted it today. You can find in that link from Dordom right above us here. And just type in your information and which rounds you want to play or which rounds you want buys. Queen e4 followed by rook e5 as like a cool little threat. Yeah. In general, on queen e4, black's going to have to spend a tempo on rook f4 if the rook's undefended to avoid that rook e5 move. And then the other big threat from white is just putting this knight on e4 is huge. So yeah, b4 has weakened the c4 pawn quite a bit, so one could remaneuver the rook to c8. Absolutely, very, very plausible. Rook here, and then if knight d2, rook c8. And the plan from black is on knight e4 to go queen c6, right? And then white has to deal with that. And it's not easy right there. So yeah, rook f8 is quite plausible because this is like the clearest weakness for white right now. I like that idea. Queen c8 defending the rook. But does it interfere with knight d2 to e4? I'm not sure. Yeah, I think being caught cheating always makes people uncomfortable, Charlie. But you still have an obligation to try and teach them not to cheat. Yes, Mimilangelo. I mean, Kostya, you'll have to like go through Kostya to get the lesson. He's arranging it and all, but I think if you want a lesson with me, he'll assign you to me. Yeah, rook f4 makes sense here, Lanza. Starting to look at the pawn from this side and trying to control knight d2 to e4. Let's say white plays knight d2 anyway. And then the queen comes to c6, hitting here and here. White's going to play b5 to defend the a pawn, I think. Takes, takes. Queen's going to try and stay on the c pawn, but white can play knight e4, blocking the rook off this way. Maintain white's advantage. So, I mean, the rook does other things from f4, but the c pawn can be shielded, so that's one reason to maybe bring the rook to c8. Because white just can't... Well, it's not clear how white would keep the pressure off of c4 if black played rook f8 to c8. Yeah, in general, that stuff always goes badly for the teacher. but they just have to say it anyway. The bishop is bad compared to the knight. Wrath of Gods, absolutely. That is like the basis of white's advantage in this position. The rook on g6, though, white's going to put a knight on e4 and have a rook on d5 and be able to play f3 or g3. So I think that this is not much of a threat. I don't think that keeps white honest the way looking at c4 keeps white honest. This is much more of a sensitive spot for white. So you can restrain white's ability to maneuver more by attacking the c-pawn than by attacking anything else in this position, I believe. Every time that I have tried to help one of my students with their cheating problem, it has just been a pain in the butt for me. And has involved, you know, the parents and the administration treating me aggressively. Yes, there are, Kyle. If you're not sure, Kyle, check out the last tournament. You can see the information on the April one. Both links are here, right? Click on the first link for the April tournament and then see what kind of players there were in your section. It is a position that white rarely loses lane Haas, yeah. I mean, there are ways to overpress. It depends on the player, right? There are players who never overpress or lose, but don't win as much with good positions. There are other players who like press really hard and sometimes mess up and lose when they're trying to win. Depends. This is a 90 plus 30. Hey, now, there's no way you could have your rating while always losing a Craddock. Who do I prefer being a coach to? You make it sound like such a tough choice, Wrath. I enjoy having a variety of students, I guess. Like in many other areas of my life, I tend to enjoy some variety. But, I mean, it's fairly hard to teach somebody who thinks they already know everything. Not too much you can do at first. Is knight e5 possible here? Ghost, yeah. This looks messy for white, right? Because when the knight moves, black can trade the rook. Black's got back rank check. Knight back to f3 you want to play. It's still interesting. It's still interesting. Oh, knight c6 move. Wrath of Gods. Let's check that out. That's really tough for black. That's really tough. It looks like with knight e7 hanging and the rook on f5 hanging, black's going to have to trade the queen on f1 and then play rook f7, right? I mean, that seems like the only line. I don't really see anything else for black to do but this. Now, it seems a shame to trade this knight for the bishop, but knight e7, rook d6 must be asked. Black would have rook c7, and there's nothing clear. Yikes. Yeah, you can. You sure can. It's done. It's done, folks. Black has been killed. Yikesy. Yikesy. Okay, is this still the live position? Yeah, queen d7 was just played. So, what else is available for black after this? I mean, there's rook takes, queen takes, something like this, but white's already up material. Even if they can't take this because of back rank mate, they could give check and then just play g3 and win from there. Whoa. Knight e5. Okay, what other moves are there? Queen e6, I think somebody mentioned at some point. I'm just relying on whatever you guys have seen or thought of. If the knight moves, queen takes e2 looks good. If the knight doesn't move, black will be able to take the knight. So our whole fancy move was losing. Oh well. I think that's probably right, Charlie, that people can just Discord coast you. So, okay, is queen a4 kind of a threat? Maybe. Maybe a little bit of a threat. in which case white could just play b5 to defend the pawn. White could also play a5 here. g4, no thanks. Yeah. Oh man, Acrobatic's trying to make g4 work. Whew. No, I don't even want to look at g4. Wow, g4? Rook f4, knight e5, trying to save this. Oh, Kostya only does private lessons through coachess.com. So if you actually want a private lesson with him, you have to go through Coachess. Except for, I guess, the like one-on-one redemptions, right, Kostya? Chess is concrete. That's true, but what a gash this g4 move is in white's position. What a gash. Okay, and your plan is after queen e6, you want to play queen e3, right? To put your queen on a defended square from the knight. Let me just try something. I'm going to try and threaten rook g4 check if the knight moves. Hang on, why couldn't I just take the knight in this position? Let me, I'm probably misreading. I probably misread your variation. g4, rook f4, knight e5, queen e6, queen e3. Okay, I think I got it right. g4, rook f4, knight e5, queen e6, queen e3. Okay, so I'll take the knight. All right. Now we say it's too anti-positional to work. Now that we've calculated it. Yeah. Where does the knight belong ideally? e4 is the answer. d5 is not bad either, but from e4 you defend the potential weakness on f2 and you target d6. So that's even better. But yeah, knight d2, queen a4 would be messy. So probably just b5, but she's been meditating on this a long time. We haven't looked at b5, no fuck. We've mentioned that b5 and a5 were simple moves to not lose this a-pawn. Very plausible moves. They're both committal. b5 and a5 are both committal for sure. I would say b5 I would tend to think is a little less risky from white, because by locking this pawn on b6, you don't have to worry about this bishop ever emerging on this diagonal, which is like a typical like surprise counterplay in these pawn structures. So I'd prefer b5. a5 tries to, you know, get one of these things where you can also target that pawn. Because like in this b5 position, it's not like easy to target this pawn. But overall, this position's super solid and safe to bring the knight to e4. But you've got one weakness. You're going to need something else at some point, right? You're going to have to use b6 or use the king or trade off pieces into the right endgame where your king can just go through the light squares in the center. c5 right now. Okay, another tactical idea. c5. So this would look very, very nice for white. Just first impression, like yay. Maybe take once first to get rid of one of those pawns, then try something like this. Oh, not queen c4, then we can't take after all. Queen A2 would do it. Somebody's just spotted Queen A2 for us here. Bob Dole. That could be fun. Oof. Defending this, defending this. That's a nice spot for the queen. Actually, we still don't have CD6, though, because of Queen C1. It's hard to cover everything in chess. But what we might have is this silly move. In the lowest level of hell, I'm not sure what you're trying to... Your chess.com is 1139 now. I don't know what you're trying to say about the chess.com ratings, but in general, you should just let your rating be whatever it is, I think, and then play with people close to you in rating in the tournament, probably. Yeah, if you just play unrated, then your rating might be sort of out of date. This looks like white loses here. Nice. The rating brackets change each tournament, lowest level of hell. So you can't really like guess in advance like what the rating brackets will be. We sort of like divide it up into equal sections based on how many people there are, right? So like if we had a tournament with 20 people under 700, we would cut off the first section at 700 instead of at 1100. You know, it all like totally depends. I cut it off in sections that have enough players to pair however many rounds the tournament's going to be and to sort of like divide it up. I'm trying to balance on the one hand having enough players in a section to have an interesting tournament and having few enough players to keep the rating band as close as possible in those sections. So, yeah. So those numbers like move around every single week where we run our tournaments. In this position, yeah, there's all kinds of moves White could play. White doesn't have to go for that knight d4. Allow d takes c5 and claim a positional advantage. Sorry, here, 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 like this. Yeah, you could play this for White, but as the pawns get traded off, you're running lower maybe on stuff to win the game with, right? Yeah, MG. I also like to afford people, you know, sometimes the chance to be the lowest, sometimes the chance to be the highest. It's a different experience. And there are some people who like being the lowest, and there are other people who hate being the lowest. So if there's somebody who's basically like a lifetime 1120, and the cutoff's always at 1100, they're always going to be the lowest rated in the, 1100 to 13 or 1400 section. And one such person might like it, and one such person might be really bummed by it. They might never even score 2 out of 4 in the tournaments. They might always score like 1/2 or 0. So, but some people love being there. So I like to move it around so everyone gets all those different experiences. It looks a little like some smothered mate themes, yeah. So Queen D1 has just been played by Eyelash. Defending A4 and not committing these pawns. Probably threatening knight takes E5, right, on the queen, and if rook takes, rook takes. And maybe threatening C5 as well. So all those other complicated C5 Queen A2s are now going to be irrelevant as we see Queen D1 revealed. Protection on the rook, protection on the back rank, and threats like this which tell me that black's going to move the queen here. If black moves the queen, then it's not as clear what white's next step is. Good evening, Racer. Ooh, Lane Haas is saying maybe black can just try and like make things concrete with e4, opening up a diagonal for the bishop, looking to make some trades. Interesting. I was gonna say like if you move the queen, then you get out of all white's threats. So it looks very like plausible to move the queen somewhere. But let's have a quick look at this move. It's an interesting looking move. Start with knight d4 for white, trying to head into this square here. Rook takes, we embrace. Like this. This queen can't like go anywhere actually. All these squares are covered. If we just do this and like get a position like that. I guess owning the c file might be important. So what's going on in a position like this? Tricky. Threatening mate. Threatening mate. Giving mate. G3, by the way, is good form here. Craddock wanted it also. But at this point here, you just want to avoid... Like, the key thing is not to keep your pawns safe from the bishop. The key thing is you need somewhere for your king to tuck. And so you want to tuck your king on a square where it'll be harder for the opponent to attack it. So this is good. And these queen penetrations seem to be refuted by just threatening checkmate a few times, which who doesn't love that? Okay. Black can play around the knight e6. I think it's not too bad for black. It might not be. And it might also be. It's hard to know. I mean, I think it looks pretty risky for black. The knight's like obviously outclassing the bishop. This pawn's weak. This king's a little bit weak. I think it just says like amazing position for white to me. But I don't know. Maybe there's something. Queen c3. We tried queen c4. Now we try queen c3. Okay. We'll see what the difference is. Can I just start threatening checkmates? Oh, the queen's going to cover one of them. I see your difference already. Okay, but this pawn's not attacked. So I could go after this, but then queen b4 will defend this one. Yeah, this is nice. Queen c4, queen here. I thought of this idea too, Kostya. Check here, here, and the queen covers this. But now this queen's not attacking our pawns like this. So I thought white could just drop back here and threaten this pawn and this pawn. And probably come out pretty happy. But that queen's... Maybe I'm missing something here as well. But that queen c3 move is a whole other thing to deal with. And if I go queen g4, taking this and defending this, huh? Then if I move the knight, clearing the way for queen e6 for an attack, is that going to be an attack or not? I'm trying to come in. Feeling like black can maybe get a draw with this pawn here. Which then makes me second guess. I was already second guessing this before. I'm just slowly catching up and telling you guys about it, which makes me second guess whether I want to throw this in. Normally this would be the right colors for black to defend themselves, but here at least the bishop's untethered, right? Because it needs to go somewhere like this. Check. Hello, says the queen. Check, yeah. If king here, then f4 and take this. And then queen defends the king from here. And if king here, then queen check and takes the pawn. It may be playable for black, but it all seems to be still risky slash suffery. Bishop on d4 would have been better. How do we even get there? Queen d1. Okay, queen c8 has been played. Moot point. Queen just got off the file. We don't get to see that e4 move. That's slightly crazy e4 move. And, you know, now white's just going to have to play a move like queen d3 or knight d2, I'm guessing, because, you know, knight e5 and c5 seem to be off the table. I suppose you could still maybe play c5. But I do feel like c5 trading pawns is starting to reduce white's advantage a little bit, or maybe not reduce the advantage, reduce how much you have to work with to outplay the opponent. So queen d3 looks lovely and simple. Oh no, queen d3, rook f4, knight to d2. Okay, yeah, queen d3 is okay. Played. Drit, I don't think I ever like allowed a direct perpetual in that line that we were looking at. I mean, that's an idea to go queen b1, e4. But as soon as black played e3 in that line, I think I checked with my queen and brought my queen to f3 with check to collect the pawn and cover the light squares around my king. Here, 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 and I don't get to play knight e4 because of rook takes. But I will play f3. And then I'll play knight e4, won't I? I'm reasonably comfortable with playing f3 for white because my knight on e4 will cover some dark squares as needed. I mean, I would have been happy to not commit any kingside pawns. I would have been happy to leave them f2, g2, h2 and keep all my options open for f3 or g3. But here I'm okay with the commitment. I think the knight coming to e4 will still be enough of an advantage for white here. So we'll see. Let me just stretch a little bit more. Ow! Even when I'm feeling good, I can't do yoga. HP Bob Dole. It's beyond my physical capabilities. I mean, I'd like to think I'd be friendly towards anyone Pleafers, including people making different choices than myself. Oh, there we go. Okay, rook f4, knight e2. That knight's been wanting to get off of f3 for a long time, folks. A long, long time. If black does nothing, white puts the knight on e4, threatening to like win a pawn on d6. Black backs up to defend it. Then white can look at attacking a6 or b6 as well, or white can look at c5 as a breakthrough, or white can look at gaining space on the king side. You can push the h-pawn all the way and see how black responds to getting poked by your h-pawn. There's like a whole bunch of different plans. But at this point, all you're thinking of as white is getting your knight to e4. You don't have to yet think about how you'll win once you get there. I mean, look what a labor it is to maneuver around and get the knight to e4. How do you create counterplay as black? I don't think you do anymore, Wrath of Gods. I think counterplay is mostly gone. Moving the h-pawn is just making more weaknesses for white to attack. I think the best thing black can do is try and attack the c4 pawn to restrict white's options. Maybe put the rook on f7, bishop on f8, and then play like rook c7. The thing is, once the bishop's on f8, you have to watch out for breakthroughs followed by rook d8, right? Like c5, d takes c5, rook to d8. I think as black, mostly we sit. Yeah, I don't think we create counterplay. I think we just sit. Keep trying to deal with any pesky things white does, one thing at a time. Let's just make a bunch of random moves on the board. Let's just feel out these positions, okay? Why not? So we'll go like here, 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 headed this way. Knight takes, bishop takes, rook takes. Threatening rook d8. Here. Check for more central. Takes. Hang on. Just making some random moves. Maybe try e4 here. Yay. e4. Yep. Oh, something happened. Something happened, folks. B5. Whoa, big moment. Big moment. Do we even know the point of it? Is it to play AB, AB, rook B5, rook D4? And then bishop G5, and if the knight moves, take on C4? Trading rooks would help white convert. Yeah, Wrath of God, I think so. Because the white queen would be amazing on D5. Exactly right. Or, I mean, I don't know if you're right. That's exactly what I would think. Okay, so is black's idea... Oh, wait, she already did something in response to this? She took already. Wow. Hey, Gustavo. Physically not so good, but this game is certainly thrilling. Okay, so I think the idea from black is on rook takes, rook here. Oh, something get played again? No, rook b5. Okay, rook d4, queen here, bishop g5, knight f3, takes with this idea. Okay, that's where they're at. White took the pawn, black hit with rook d4, bishop g5's coming. What a big move. Whew. Oh, can you play queen e3 to stop bishop g5, right? Oh, but look at this move. Look at this move. I don't know if this is right or not, but could this be a move? No, it doesn't work quite, huh? Because rook b8. If queen d4, black takes back with the queen. But rook c8, and we just need to score a queen check, and when the rook blocks, take the queen. Right? So like king f7, check, and then takes. If the rook doesn't come over, the queen's covering d1. And if bishop f8, I think you have to go here, here, check, here, here. Dang. Okay, so queen e3 is maybe a move here. Queen f7. Queen f7, Fischer Seb. Okay, hang on, folks. So this line is not over yet. Queen c4, rook check, bishop here, takes here, check. Black wins with this, saving the queen. So bishop f8. What does white do next? There's no time for queen f3 here because of queen c1, knight f1, rook f4. Well, I mean, I don't know if I should say there's no time for this. Let's check it out. Sorry. We got to give check, blocks, here to defend the bishop, check, here, queen d6. It's intense. It's certainly intense. But this line is probably not good for black. Queen f3. Queen back to f7, maybe? Keeping this going. Yeah, this position's pretty complicated. Yeah, the knight's hanging right now, so we can't yet play b5. But you could play a move like knight e4, right? And you're just looking at playing this kind of an endgame here, with basically the b pawn trying to finish the game before this bishop untangles and becomes good. Very, very hard to evaluate. There's some immediate tactics with like knight g5 to e6. There's also d5 trying to play rook b4, and then knight here looking at knight e6. And then on king f7 to stop it, there's check here, here, which I didn't calculate, but I was thinking would probably lose for black. Yeah, black doesn't have to trade on f3. It's just, I'm just trying to share some of the things that I was looking at. All right, let's see where they're at for a second. They're still here, still thinking about it. Oh, to go for rook b4 in that line, huh? Rook takes, bishop takes. Huh, let's see that again. This line is full of like crazy looking moves. No, I don't think that this is a draw for black. This looks very tough for black. I think this is more like losing than drawish, Wrath of Gods. But I don't have a very good fundamental theoretical endgame knowledge. Okay, I think I know one thing. So like if we're looking at like a position like this, I think I know that if black had a pawn on g6, king on g7, bishop on f6, and one of these pawns were traded, that would be a fortress draw, actually. So black's not far from a draw. Black's not very far from a draw. But here, like the move f4 is a winning threat, so the bishop has to like go somewhere else, right? It's unmoored. And now probably what white wants to do is like transfer the rook here and then try and bring the king towards like f5. I see a lot of danger here for black. My guess is black loses, because the reference position I gave you that I think is a fortress draw, it's like just barely. It's like, woo, that's an amazing draw. So if you add even just one more like piece of anything on the board, I feel like it goes out the window and now you're losing. So you wanted to play g5 and keep the pawns. Yeah, g5 is actually the wrong way to defend these positions, Wrath of God. In general, your danger is the white king coming through the light squares and getting behind your final pawn, like your h pawn. And then you'll lose everything from behind. Also, once the white king gets into a square like f5 or g6 or something, white can sack the rook for bishop and pawn and win. Like any pawn you have on a dark square defended by your bishop, white can play rook takes pawn, bishop takes rook, king takes bishop, and win the resulting king and pawn ending if their king's in really dominant position. So what you need actually is pawns on light squares if possible, with the bishop on dark squares. And the goal is just to keep the opponent's king out, which may be like surprising to you right now, but think about all of like endgames in general. I know you're quite a strong player and you've got some experience. Think of all games in general. What's like one of the #1 battles in every endgame between someone who's trying to convert and somebody who's trying to defend? It's whether or not the stronger side's king can get into the game, right? It's all these kind of like blocking inroads, blocking routes in for the king. If you can keep the enemy king out of your position, then there are all kinds of positions where one side has an advantage of either a pawn or an exchange or something that they can't win if their king can't get in, right? They need to be able to double attack some kind of pawn at the base of your formation, and for that they need the king to get in to ever win. a lot of endgames are played that way. And so to keep this king out, the logical blockading mechanism for black is bishop on dark squares and pawns on light squares. So okay, let's see where they're at. Still white to play here. We just went 15 moves into their endgame. But queen e3, queen c4 is certainly a shocking and intriguing set of variations. Big moment, big moment. Okay, and just to refresh everybody's memory, if the queen plays like a simple, like retreating, defending kind of move, black's overall idea is to attack the knight that's defending this. And then when white saves the knight, to take on c4. That's like the overall idea of black. We're at rook d4 in the live game. If queen e2, bishop here, rook d5 to defend that. Black can trade everything off like this. Any version of white just trying to defend everything and play rook d5, black can trade everything off to get to this position. If queen d6, give back rank mate. If not, queen d6, play d5. So, a fully equalized endgame for black, for sure. So almost any, queen c3, queen c2, queen e2 kind of move, bishop g5 should be fine for black. Oh, that's an interesting line, Wrath of God. Let's check that out. Here, 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 here. If queen b8, queen c4. Yeah, but do you see a move for black that spoils your line? I'm sure you do now that it's on the board. This is why it's always such a good exercise to like calculate variations, write them down, and then play them out, and like see what's different once you set up the board from when you were like calculating in your head. You can give yourself such good feedback by doing that. Right? Try and visualize or calculate anything you like without moving pieces, and then move pieces, and just see what do you notice that you didn't notice before. All your moves might be right, but you may see the position in a slightly new way, or see some new possibilities that you didn't see before, or change your valuation. Like, it doesn't mean you're always going to have like missed some kind of move, like here, rook c1 check, getting out of the way of the queen, followed by queen b8, winning for black. You won't always have missed something as far as like the moves being blunders, but there will always be something like, there will almost always be something revelatory that you see where you're like, oh, now it looks like that. I know, Wrath. I was thinking that same thing too. I looked at that same line here. Here, here, check, here, check. And then I want this queen on like a dark square or something where like whatever the king does, I've got some like knight e4 trick coming next, but or like rook f8 check, king takes, knight e6 if the queen's here or something. But no, it's just not quite in the position to do that. Okay, yeah, I mean, good question from Why Must I? Okay, queen c4 is exciting and all, but there is also h6, simply threatening a very simple looking kind of bishop g5 move. Does white have anything good there? You would look first at like knight moves that cover g5, right? And knight e4, rook d1, you don't have to look at very long. So then we've got knight f3, queen c4 is the next branch to look at. We can certainly save our rook if we want to. The problem is knight takes rook. There's going to be... Oh, no, there isn't queen c1. Okay, okay, okay. So we can go check here and take. And apparently win for white. All right, Matt. Sounds good. So knight f3. Maybe the rook should move out of the way of the knight. Why do I have to be so fancy? I don't. Let's just move the rook out of the way. And you guys want to just play bishop g5 anyway? Just knight f3, prevent bishop g5. Who knows? Oh, there is also just rook d1 here as well. Oh, man, no. I mean, we can't pass up this move for black. Sorry, folks. I know you were asking about bishop g5 and all kinds of things. But if you can just force that knight back and get the 8th rank here and then, you know, come through like this, forget it for white. This is turning rough for white. Black has completely taken over here. Okay. So that says here we're looking at Fischer-Seb's h4 now. Fischer-Seb often comes up with some brilliant stuff. So let's take a look at it. It's losing the pawn to get rid of the back rank, right? Yeah. Queen e2, bishop g5. Oh, nice lane. I like that line. Why not simply h3, Phyllis? We were under the impression that this move would win the knight, but we may be overlooking some tactical resources. I wanted to set up something where my queen could like move away and threaten rook here, but I haven't seen it yet. So let's try the brilliant h4. All right. Oh, host put us some other idea for black, which we can try next. But as white, I'm already pretty scared by this simple creeping queen g4 move. Actually, we could also creep there while taking a pawn, couldn't we? But I wanted to start, you know, looking for moves like bishop g3 and bishop f2 in a second here. That's what I was about. This, I mean, it just looks like white's king is in grave danger, and like white doesn't even have any kind of real advantage. Just a rook in a bad spot, pretty much. Okay, queen e2 has just been played here. So no queen e3, h6. I think that h6 might have been really strong. It looked pretty tough. h6, h4, queen g4. Yeah, I can see the idea there. Probably white has to play knight f3 then, and then rook d1, king h2, bishop h4 would transpose, right? Would be fine to do. You can't find this game on chess.com. Here, I'll give it to you, Nicola. Okay, so queen e2, bishop g5 has been played. Let's check out Lane Haas's line, knight e4 coming in. Rook takes c4, queen c4 check. Here, check. And then here, knight check. Now, to be perfectly precise, black has this move here, which could matter in some other situation, right? By bringing the rook closer where you can take it, but here it's still a win for white. So, knight e4, it looks like taking on c4 does not work for black here. Black probably wanted to take on c4 here. Okay, what does black have? Is white threatening knight takes bishop here? It seems so. Oh my god, it's happening. It's happening. Rook takes c4 played. Everything Lane Haas said. Eyelash double checking, but I think she's seen it when she went for this. Oh man. I don't see anything for black after queen takes rook. Everybody double check your hardest, okay? If you were white here, do not bash out queen takes rook. Look how much time you have, 5 minutes and 40 seconds. You can spend like 5 minutes of that time double checking. You go from black's perspective, like queen takes rook. Is there anything left to do? Okay, we're in check, king and queen. Can we move the king somewhere there where there'd be a stalemate? Okay, it's a little bit too early. We got 4 pawns. Queen c4 check. Is there d5? No, still queen takes queen. Queen e6? No, queen can't get to f7. Queen takes queen, rook check. Okay, what do we've got? Queen c8, bishop d8, king f7. Queen c8, queen c4, queen c4, rook b8, queen c8, rook c8. Of course, white's up a rook. h4. What? What? Something else got played. Hang on. What? You got to be kidding me. Not these players. What possible move? What possible move? Are you guys kidding me? This is impossible. Rook check. This was the whole point of queen e2. I am shocked, Paul. I am shocked. Oh my goodness. We've been deprived of a real beauty right there. Fisher Seb telling us that h4 also wins. Right, we tried rook b8, rook c1, king h2, queen b8 as something that didn't work. And Fisher Seb says she probably calculated that h4 was winning and didn't look at other things. So why is h4 winning? If the bishop goes back to e7, what's the idea? Why is this winning? I suppose there's like knight d6 sort of threatened here, although black can always get one piece out with check. But why would this be winning for white? I don't even know what white's playing for after bishop e7 or bishop h4. I don't really know what's the big deal. Oh, hang on, let me see. Looks like Jesse's ready. Hey, Gothmog. Thanks for the Bezos bucks. Very happy to have you with us. Jesse will be on in 11 minutes, by the way, folks, for his game review show. The monthly monster of a show. Yeah, queen c4 is exactly what you play chess for. It's painful to not have it played. Doesn't kick players out. Right. We never kick anybody out. Yep. I get it, Samuel. I'm with you. I'm in agreement. I'm just having a slow day. It's tough for me to understand words through the pain. Minimum rating to find that tactic? Well, raise your hand in chat, anybody who saw that tactic. Who was the lowest rated player who saw it? I wouldn't really expect many players under 1400 to find it. I suppose like an occasional player under 1400 could find it, but it would be not common. Yeah, I saw it because it was explained as different. Hey, Strawcap, thank you very much. Demon rated 401 says that they saw it. So if that's true, then a 400 rated player can find this tactic. Bishop e7 played. Yikes. And king h2 is the response. So the game goes on, folks. We had a possible tactical moment, but nothing comes of it, and the game goes on. Still no idea who has the upper hand at this point. If it were given as a puzzle, I think a lot more people would find it, yeah. Demon up another 50 points since last week. Excellent. Excellent. Close to 500. Let's not get ahead of ourselves. I would say you made it halfway there, Demon. It's excellent progress. I'm very happy for you. But realizing how long a journey it is part of respecting the progress that you're making. Is the tactic not still possible? No, Thomas. It required the knight going here to fork the king and queen. So once the bishop goes to e7, the tactic is off, right? So it looks like this, the tactic. Check here, check, check. Right? So the knight needs that square for this to work out. So as soon as the bishop came back to e7, the tactic was gone. And yeah, now it's a whole different kind of position. Whole different kind of position. See ya, Storky. And by the way, folks, as you may be able to figure out from the info below me, it doesn't say the dates, but anyway, round 3, Alexa as white against Carrot as black is going to be played tomorrow at the same time as today. So we'll do this again tomorrow. We've got pretty full days on the schedule, I think, on Wednesday and Thursday. Like tomorrow, we'll do this Dojo Classical Tiebreaker from 9:30 a.m. until noon. Then it'll be interrupted without seeing the end of the Carrot Alexa game by Endgame Sensei. Then we've got a private lesson for JB. Then we've got an educational rapid speed run by Kostya for the whole late afternoon. And then my group lessons in the evening. So tomorrow will be really full. Today as well, because this show and Jesse's upcoming show are pretty long. Depending on how I'm feeling tonight, I'm scheduled to also stream tonight. FYI. Who is better here is a very good question, Host Pud. No idea. Jesse used to always ask me who's better and why. And basically, I never knew. And here I still don't. All right, and if Kostya's internet works, he'll keep things going after Jesse's marathon game review. So we'll try to chain together a long day today as well. A move ago, I knew, yeah. When white could win with queen takes c4, I knew it was... I knew the b pawn was going to queen at the end of all that. Knew it was a win. Now, who knows? Now, who knows? By the way, folks, is this the kind of thing where you've got like a position like this, and then after the game you say, I can't believe I lost like a +11 position if you lose this game as white? Because if that's how you guys are using, I can't believe I lost a plus 11 position, you're using it wrong. You're definitely not plus 11 until you actually find the tactic and play it out on the board. And then you can say, you know, then you can say, if you lose this position here, you can say, I lost a position with an extra rook and a b pawn. Okay? Then you can say you lost a position with an extra rook and a b pawn, and people can be impressed. They can say, wow, you lost this position as white. That seems hard. Okay? That's the way to use that phrase. Okay? But if you play h4, bishop e7, you say, you'll never believe I lost this game where I was plus 11. You are not understanding what any of the words you say mean. Okay? You were never plus 11. You just missed a tactic. Yeah, you miss a tactic every game. So does your opponent. That's just part of chess. You didn't actually have extra pieces on the board and then blunder. And yeah, as long as you talk like that, you will continue to have no idea what's going on in chess games. Okay, here's the position. Bishop f8 just played. Yeah, because I'm tired of people coming to me with these like dumb comments, and then like I see the game and I'm like, I played through the whole game. It was equal material the whole game. What are you talking about? Absolute travesty of language and chess. Knight c5 is a move here? Whoa. Rook h4 check. King g3. I'm not sure. I guess knight c5 is a move, but I don't know what the point of it is. Oh yeah, I had a draw when you missed some like 10 move variation that leads to a perpetual check that you never saw in a position where you were down a piece. Can't believe I had a game that I was drawing and didn't draw it. You were never drawing that game, friend. Hey, it's Verb. Dang, it's Verbgen black. What does that mean? That means over a year to get that black gi? Wow. Does Dordom have that black gi? Dordom has the black gi. Yeah, that makes sense. Wow. Wow. 3 minutes to 5-ish. 3-ish minutes to 5-ish. If we have a nice emoji, and that is an oxymoron, if we have a nice emoji, it won't be coming from me, it's Verb. I have not the current position, you're saying? Oh my god. h4, bishop e7, king h2, bishop f8. Okay, g3, queen c6 have been played. Okay, thanks, Scott. Rook c5, rook takes e4 would win for black. And knight c5, queen b5 would win for black. You're welcome, Phyllis. Enjoy the rest of your workday. Is this lost for white now? Let's see. Hitting these two pieces looks rough, actually. Yeah, that looks very rough. Uh-oh. Was bishop f8, like, played to stop rook b8 and threaten this? And white just falls apart to it. Rook c5 now still. Rook c5, there's this move, hitting the queen, right? And takes, leaves black up a piece. Maybe knight d2, says somebody. Yeah, knight d2. Whew. Knight G5. Who was looking at that move? Nobody. I don't know what poggers means, Kastanik, but I think rook c5 was losing to rook takes e4. Oh, no, because queen a2, right? Is that what you guys are telling me? Rook c5, rook here, queen a2. That's what everybody's trying to tell me. Is that what poggers means? Knight g5, queen b5, queen h5. Threatening checkmate and checkmate. What on earth? Does this not look like a forced mate? He took the rook in 15 seconds here, friends. Which with 5 minutes on the clock is a pretty fast move. Seems like mate. Doesn't make sense. I had plus 7.32, then I made a move and it was minus 6.47. I've never done that before in my life. I want to kill myself. Oh, I got to let Jesse take over now, right? Rook h4 check, pawn takes, and it's still checkmate next, right? Ouch. I mean, knight g5, nobody was looking at it, but once somebody plays it, you're like, okay, trying to play queen h5, and then just allowing it. Wow. Who knows what was happening in this position, right? If black played like h6 or g6 here. Dang. And now just mated. Just mated like a nobody instead of like a champion. Poof. Seems to be forced checkmate, yeah. I don't know what's being said about knight g5, rook c1. Oh, maybe last move right here, rook c1. Threatening this. Well, I mean, white can stop that checkmate. Why would this be over? Queen e4 to go to an endgame. F3 to lose to rook c2. Okay, queen e4. Sorry, I didn't know what you guys were talking about for a second. As you can see, I'm really struggling today. Bishop e7 played. Okay, that looks like mate in 2, h7 to h8. Jeez. That was really, really dramatic. That was really dramatic, folks, at the end. With queen c6, we don't know what would have happened on rook c5. On knight g5, we don't know what would have happened if g6 or h6. A postmortem is definitely called for, but for now, it is not Alexa and Comrade's game that's going to be analyzed further. It is your games. Jesse is here to take over. I will hopefully see you guys this evening. And you may or may not need to refresh your dojo in a second to see Jesse's show.